Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. This is a show where we aim to educate, inspire and entertain through real life stories and interviews from people in the Scottish property community.
As always, thanks for listening and give us a follow on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to join us at our monthly networking events on the first Wednesday of every month. Tickets are available on our website. So without further ado, we'll just cut straight into this week's podcast.
Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast. Foster, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Regional partner for the whole of Scotland for Keller Williams.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, so you run the whole show in Scotland.
Well, so not on my own. Not on my own.
When we see a Keller Williams branded sign, which you pretty much see throughout the whole of Scotland now, it's somewhat directly you're responsible for that.
Yes.
So well done.
Yes, thank you.
So I first heard you speaking at a Dundee podcasting event, I think it was back in last January.
Yeah, it would be 24. January 24.
And it was a really, really good topic on goals and setting yourself up. But as part of that, you kind of went in your story in depth as well. And it was a fascinating story. I actually really enjoyed it.
Thank
but
you.
It was practical tips on goal setting and actions for yourself and your business.
Yeah.
So I kept saying, Nick, we need to get Evan for a talk. So thanks very much for joining us, taking the time.
No problem.
So now that I've lined the guest listeners up with what's coming, can you take us back to the beginning and then tell us about, I suppose, before early
How far
life.
back?
I was going to say, how far back did they go? Early life before Keller Williams, and what made you do that?
Okay. I'll not go too far back. We could be here all day, but I think basically the where I'll start from is when I got divorced, which was 13 years ago. Because before that, it's kind of fairly boring.
Normal life.
Define normal. So I had been a stay-at-home mum. I've got 4 kids and I had 4, 5 and under. So that was my full-time job at that point. And I was fortunate enough, to be able to kind of stay at home. But when I got divorced, it was kind of like, right, okay, now we have to get back out and start, earning money, supporting the family. The year before that, I had set up a gym. I'd bought a franchise for a ladies' gym because I was into fitness and I thought combine hobby and business. And it was a great business. It was a great business. It was a great place for women to come and feel part of a community, lose weight, just generally kind of feel better about themselves. But it wasn't really serving me financially. So I'd ploughed a lot of money into the gym. Big franchise fees, restricted in what you can do, right. but just, you pay for the equipment, typical kind of franchise type thing.
So was that rented gym equipment as well, plus the franchise fee, plus I'm assuming kickback to them as well? Then?
Yeah. So you've got all the kind of, whether you're making money or not, you're paying your fees every month, which is fine in a franchise. You have to do that, but not when they're huge. So, but then I decided I was going to open up another one. So I had to.
Solve the problem
I think some people do that, don't they? They think another office or something else is going to then solve the problem of the first one.
I met a guy actually that had a similar model. I think it was a Papa John's franchise.
Yeah,
and I think he ended up getting 3 or 4, thinking that one's a struggle to make up a little bit of income, but if you multiply them, we can make more. But I think he paid the debt off within. I think it's like they kind of give you like the business loan up front, and it's heavy.
Yeah.
Payments for the first 5 years, and once they're gone, it starts to cash flow a lot better. But whether you get to that point, it's a different story.
I think it's when it's getting through that first 5 years of any business is really the struggle. I think the only franchise you make money when you get more is McDonald's. But anyway, that's another story. But so I mean, fast forward, the business was well and we were serving women well, but as I say, it wasn't serving me financially. So I went back into what I know, and that was going back into estate agency. I took an employed position for a while because I'd accumulated a lot of debt but all the money had gone into the business, paying staff. I had like 7 members of staff at that point. So I thought I'm going to take an employed position, which I've not been employed for 25 years or something, but it was a good salary, company car, blah, 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 bonuses. So I took that. I'll not tell you with who, but I was there. I thought I'll do 12 months, get the bonus, pay everything off, and then do something that I love, which was the estate agency and dealing with people. So went back into estate agency as an agent and then started just to build up my business. But it was an online agency, which didn't really kind of get with my values because it's all about people, right? Properties don't have feelings, people do. So it didn't really align with my values, and I wasn't seeing my kids. So I'd kind of gone out of employment to go self-employed to see my kids.
Working all hours in the
and
summer.
working all hours to make ends meet. So I thought it was the journey up the M74 for the fourth night, and the kids by this point they weren't under 5 clearly, so they were old enough to be on their own. And it was like, what's for tea? You know, and it was Domino's again. Now they're delighted, but you know, I'm thinking I'm not there. What you know, and it's
you must have been earning all right if you're affording Domino's.
Well, yeah, like 40, 50 quid a night. I know exactly, but that's the thing. You know, I talk a lot about balance, but you know, so the money was coming in, but I'd no balance, I'd no time with the kids. So I'd seen a sign for Keller Williams on my patch, and I thought, who's this? What's this kind of new agency come into town? And I researched it, and it was, you know, a platform to set up your own estate agency, to set, you know, and then be self-employed, etc., etc. So by that point, I had quite a lot of loyal clients that I knew would kind of come with me. And obviously, you know, people that knew me, you know, in my own personal life. So I just made the jump, literally said, right, that's it. Something had to change. And it wasn't, you know, I couldn't exactly sell my kids, so I had to make a change in my business. And
the 4 assets that you had.
4 assets, yeah. I don't think anybody would buy them. No, they would. They're absolutely gorgeous. But so I set up as an agent, not really knowing much about Keller Williams, if truth be told. I just knew it was a platform that could help me set up my own business without all the costs.
What sort of year was that been? Because obviously, like, self-employed estate agency in this country is still pretty early days, isn't it? I mean, it's a lot more common in, obviously, the US, where Keller Williams originated from. Gary Keller, is it? Yeah, so
Keller Williams has been around for 43 years, so it's huge in the US, but it's also now getting, you know, bigger and bigger in the worldwide. So that was the end of 2017. Beginning of 2018, so not that long ago. And then I'll miss the kind of, well, everybody loves the messy middle bit, but I don't like to talk about, you know, I took my business away from Keller Williams because it wasn't getting run right, let's put it that way, and it wasn't aligning with what I knew about Keller Williams in the States and what had been sort of brought here.
What do you think the kind of areas weren't merging right for them, the kind of the same models to operate?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you work to a model and Keller Williams is big on values, which is obviously I am, and I think, you know, I just thought this is not producing for me what I need to then produce for clients.
So this was the first time round with Keller Williams?
Yeah, so this would be in June-ish time, 2019.
Right.
So I left and 3 agents came with me. And we had our own agency, and they were self-employed. I was self-employed. And then I got an approach to open up a market centre for Keller Williams in Scotland, in Glasgow at that point.
What does a market centre mean? What is that? So
the market centre is where sort of your leadership team's based, where it's the training room for the agents. It's the kind of hub the agents come in, the admins there, the, you know, lead generations there, the training, all the stuff that they need. Yeah. All the support centre, yeah. I mean, market centres, you know, just the term used in Keller Williams, but it's really kind of the community.
Right.
So that was, I was approached to do that, and I basically said, no, I'm not, I don't want to do it. I'm happy in my own. And then another agent wanted to join me, and I thought, I actually have no infrastructure. I have no processes. It was kind of like, yeah, come on, let's do it. And we were all doing well. But like any business, you can only go so far unless you've got a model or a platform or, you know, a process. So Keller Williams kind of gave me that bit. So I came back to Keller Williams January 2020 and brought 3 of the agents back into Keller Williams. They were happy with that. Obviously, we know what happened. March 2020, you know, we had 5 months, nobody could sell a property, the whole thing. I mean, that, you know, there was lots of other horrible things that happened that year.
You're all self-employed as well, aren't you?
We're all self-employed because the business had only started in January 2020. I mean, there was nothing. We just had to, so we survived through that. Thankfully, both, you know, personally and in business. And then fast forward, Keller Williams opened up in Edinburgh. There was a franchise in Inverness. But talking about goal setting, when I had first joined, I'd been asked to set a 5-year goal. And I'd said I would love to have Scotland as a region because, you know, you guys are in property. We've got different laws. We've got different ways of doing things. decisions made in London do not reflect well in Glasgow, Dundee, Aberdeen, you know,
And
wherever.
see this drive to expand into Scotland, was this all coming from down in London then?
Yeah.
Were they like that, right, where's the next opportunities? Let's go round and see who's wanting to get involved.
So somebody had taken over the kind of UK franchise and wanted to, but knew me as an agent, so had approached me to, I mean, I'm not sure he exactly wanted to come back into Scotland with a bang, but he'd known me and thought it would be quite a good fit. So, and it was a good fit, but so I'd put out this, I'd like to have Scotland as its own region. I can remember writing it down, and, you know, like we talk about building your Disney, so it was all written down. And then January of this year, so 5 years to the day, we became, you know, a separate region as Keller Williams Scotland. So, and I often say, you can set a goal, you don't know how you're going to get it, but you just know that that's your goal. You know, the how kind of comes as you work through it. So
see, to become that's great. See, become that director, do you have to put your own personal investment into that to own that?
Yeah. I mean, you're buying you're buying franchises,
Aye.
you're buying region, you're putting money into the business. Like any business, you know, if you want to, let's go back to the franchising, but it's set up in a different way, in that it's a low cost entry model for us as operators, and also for the agents.
Yeah.
And why do you go down that route instead of just sticking with yourself and building your own brand? Is it to do with the systems and the training and the process?
It's a lot to do with Gary Keller and the team and everything round about there, because the training and the leadership and the development you get through that, you'd be hard pushed to pay for that, so that you get that as part of your training. And also, I think the because you're then in different countries. I mean, if I'd grown out, let's say, you know, F. Foster estate agent, I'd have been very much just based in Glasgow, or, you know, the area you control. This is a worldwide company, and, you know, it's in 63 other countries. So you've got a much bigger kind of network of estate agency professionals.
Have you ever met Gary Keller?
Well, funny you should say that. I met him in June of this year. I was in a room, fortunate to be in a room of 15 people for a mastermind for 2 days over in Texas.
He's quite a celebrity in, obviously, the estate agency world, you know, the real estate.
Yeah, he you know, I don't use the term guru very, very easily or very often, but when you see a lot of other training and coaching, a lot of it is from Gary Keller.
Well, there's that. I did read his book. I can't. Well, he's got a few books, I think, but I read one book. It was great. You know, very much again about the kind of systems, processes, and. He wrote the Millionaire Real Estate book, which is the Red Book, which is kind of the Bible. He wrote. I mean, it's 20 odd years before social media and everything. But the models in there are still true today. You know, the different things you have to do, the principles apply. You just have to add in now social media and add in AI. So, yeah, I mean, to sit in a room with somebody like that, I don't know who you're kind of, you know, who you would love to sit in a room. Who would you like? Who would be your person to sit in a room with? Stephen Clark.
Once a month.
Yeah.
Once a month, I get yeah, I mean, obviously you look up to these guys, don't you? For me, it was... For a long time, I really consumed a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V.
Yep.
Don't know if you've come across him.
Yeah.
I just loved his stuff.
It's a great energy, yeah.
Aye, and still it comes. I don't, not as much these days, but it still comes up on YouTube and I watch the odd video. It becomes a bit repetitive after a while, some of these gurus, because they kind of set themselves on the one thing and they keep repeating the same message. So you kind of,
And see if you actually drill down to a lot of, let's say, your more modern type kind of motivation mindset, you know, coaching type people. It's in that Millionaire Real Estate book. Like, it literally is, and some of the other things that Gary has written, you know. So
point you to, like, Jim Rohn was one of the original ones, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything Gary Vee saying or Grant Cardone saying, it's pretty much came from this book, just in their voice.
100%. And that's fine. That's okay. If something works, you know, you do it in your own, and it'll appeal to different audiences and different types of people. People wouldn't necessarily go to Gary Keller if they're not in the real estate world, but they should, but they don't. So his next thing at the moment is, you know, really a lot of it, what we spoke about in the mastermind, was AI. You know, and he's not frightened of AI like a lot of people are. He is delving. He does, but he wants to become an expert in it so that he can then impart that onto his leadership, that then impart it onto us, and then we impart it onto the agents. So when you've got somebody with that mind, it's really inspiring.
How old is Gary?
He's 68. No, he's like 68, 69.
So I shall be that agent's looking at a technology like instead of just going, I'm too old to do that. I'm going to try and drive on and keep moving on with the business.
100%. I mean, do you think he didn't have to be in that room for 2 days? I mean, he could be on his ranch and just, enjoying, the fruits of his hard labour. But he chose to be in there and do this with us, which, I felt very honoured to be part of it,
So what are the challenges then when you take on the Scotland, basically, you take on Scotland, the franchise for Scotland. What are those early days like? What do you need to do to make this business work effectively?
I think in terms of the actual market centre or an agent?
The market centre, because you're running the markets. Because I'm presuming like your job is not to go out and sell houses.
Not anymore, no.
Right. So obviously you're now become like a business owner.
Yes.
You need to recruit agents, don't you?
Yep.
So how do you go about doing that?
So I think in the early days it was very much Keller who. And it still is in some areas that we've not. In Glasgow we're well known, Dundee we're kind of okay, Edinburgh we've just opened an office in Edinburgh, so we're getting there. It's about it. So in this country, most estate agents are employed. You mentioned earlier, it's still relatively early days of self-employed, although obviously Remax have been doing it for years and years.
So obviously you've got your big high street agents that are pretty much owned by Connells.
Yeah, or LSL,
Slate Hogg, Countrywide, all the rest of it. They've all got their valuers and their negotiators and things like that. So that's a traditional model.
Yep. So you've got the kind of high streets and the corporates. So the high streets would be the kind of maybe smaller ones that are maybe branched in Glasgow, for example, or even smaller independents. So the corporates, obviously, what we're looking at is maybe agents within the corporates that are on a relatively low salary, a little bit of commission when they bring something on, and saying, well, look, it's your reputation that's actually, it's not the name above the door that's getting the business. Why don't you do it for yourself? So we help them set up their own business, rather than if you've ever had to pay for Rightmove, Zoopla, CRMs, it's a lot of money per month to do it.
How much could you be talking about? If somebody wanted to go and start up an estate agency, what would they need? What do you think their costs would be roughly? If they want to go and set up themselves? If
they want on all the portals and the things that you need, I would say you're looking about £3,000 a month before you list a house.
Yeah, and no income.
And before staff.
Yeah.
Obviously, the benefit of signing up with yourselves is that's included in what. So what is the model then? If somebody wants to come on board with you, is there a monthly fee? Like, what's the split?
So there's a monthly fee. There's different splits depending on your experience. But then we're a capped model, so you only ever pay us X amount, and then once you keep all your money. So for somebody coming on that's brand new to the industry, now I'm a big believer that you don't have to have been an estate agent to be a good estate agent. In fact, our track record would show that our best agents weren't estate agents before they joined Keller.
We found that when we were out in Dubai as well, didn't we? The exact same agents said the same things. It's actually the ones that come with experience almost come with a kind of conceived idea of what a estate agency is, whereas people that come in from, I think, was a car mechanic or a butcher or something completely
butcher, I'm sure
different.
rings a bell.
The best-selling agent in Dubai, like, wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've just got a guy come in from car salesmanship. He was 21 years in that, and he's absolutely fabulous with people. Yeah. And that goes back to what I said. I think the estate agency model is kind of really broken in this country, in that we've got a terrible reputation.
What do you think it is that the traditional agents do wrong or do badly?
Connect with people. And really look after the people in a transaction.
It's very transactional when it comes to corporate traditional estate agents, isn't
it? And I think you mentioned it earlier, you've got the valuer who goes out and basically signs up the client and then doesn't really have anything to do with that transaction going
that's
forward.
Interesting you say that, because a mate of mine just sold a £1 million house in the West End of Glasgow there.
Well, mates have got £1 million houses.
You don't get many in Glasgow.
You're fucking
and he didn't use Keller Williams, more to the point.
You're running in big circles.
No, he went with a local, he went with a kind of reputable West End, one of the West End snobby brands, right? And he got totally bought into this whole thing, because they've got a really good local reputation.
Yeah.
The guy came out and he really connected with the guy, thought he got on great and all the rest of it with him.
Yeah.
And then it was like, he just thought that he was going to be dealing with this guy all the way through.
Yeah.
And then he was like, to me, it was mental. He just I couldn't get hold of him then on afterwards. It was I was just papped off. Yeah. Basically. And that is exactly what you talk about there.
And there's some really good valuers. It's not the people themselves, but it's the model. The role they're in, and the valuer is like the coveted position in an estate agency. And these are good guys, good guys as in people, females, whatever. But there's still a lot of men in that role. But that's another subject. But you're right, they come out and they're great people. But they literally go back, and it's the person that's the usually negotiator or whatever's dealing with your sale, but you might not connect with that person. You've connected.
The viewing agent goes out and shows the client, and it's like a very disjointed thing of 4 different people dealing with a sale transaction, and actually it's someone's property that they've emotionally attached to and wants for someone to hold their hand through the process.
Yeah, and I think that's all people want is like an arm around the shoulder because it is an emotional transaction.
We were chatting about this actually, and I know the stats I put on ChatGPT. You'll be quite proud of me. We're talking about the relationships you get with people during property when you're building a property portfolio, and if you're adding a few properties to your portfolio every year, you're doing transactions that most people and normal people wouldn't do with their solicitors. So we actually it gave us the thought, well, how many times do people move in Scotland? And ChatGPT said it was 18.3 years. So, and that's a long time for someone to stay in the one property and move. And if they are moving house, it's usually for a long time. So you'd want someone to be holding your hand through the process. And obviously for us, it's very unemotional. We're buying an asset or buying a property to flip or to hold in the portfolio. You don't need that. But the majority of people that are selling a house, that's a home, or they're looking for the next home. So it is someone that needs connected with, I think also, and again, I have no slagging off of any other agents. I never do that. I just think it's the models that need to change. A lot of times you'll get the kind of, sold sign on the board or sold subject to contract. And then it's almost like, right, next. Yeah. But that period, well, you've bought a lot of properties between sold subject to contract and completion. Who's looking after you during that? That's the difference with in my opinion, with self-employed agents, because ultimately you need to get that over the line.
Well, so we don't get paid until it's over the line. Let's be really clear. We're not on salaries, so we have to get that completed to be paid. But also because we are the people that can speak to the seller solicitor, buyer solicitor, it's the agent that should be the conduit the whole time. To be able to get that across, not just the solicitor. And many times,
that's when it breaks down.
It's when it breaks down,
You spent a bit of time over in the States looking at how American agents operate and stuff like that. Yeah. So what do you think they do? Sort of flip it over there. What do you think they do well, and what's so good about that
literally stand side by side their client throughout the whole process. Now their process is much shorter. It goes into escrow and then it's very, very much shorter, which actually means that we should have that connection even better and greater because we're with people for a long time. I've had clients, when I was an agent, phoning me at 9 o'clock at night in tears because, something's not been done during that day. And, they just want to know that somebody's in their corner.
Do you think there's any other things about our system over here, the way we do things, that you think just shouldn't be? I'm thinking off the top of my head, closing dates. I'm thinking.
Funny you should mention that. There was a post on social media yesterday, and it was kind of quite a well-known property investor, shall we say, and had said that they just realised that closing dates weren't a legal requirement. So no, they're not. The closing dates were brought in by solicitors because solicitors can't negotiate. So estate agents.
Then?
Oh, haha! Now you're calling me. Well, is it laziness? It's really easy to put a property on the market. Putting a property on the portals is easy. Yeah. Getting viewers through the door for a property that's going to sell all day long is easy. Calling a closing date is quite a way of just shutting it down, closing the file and moving on. Whereas a good agent would then be able to negotiate. So we don't have to call closing dates because we can negotiate. So we can negotiate on behalf of the seller a better price if that's what it takes.
The only thing that I would say, the favourite closing dates, we've probably all been there. Property goes to closing date and then Like, how far can you actually keep negotiating up if you've only got 2 or 3 interested parties? Whereas we know we've sold properties where you get one offer that just goes
because they want it, and the
like
time's
20,
been set.
30 grand over, and they just go for it, and then you're like, wow.
I think the thing is, you can't say that closing dates are wrong or closing dates are right.
Yeah.
Each property and transaction is very different. So, you'll have been in situations where you've maybe wanted to view a property, but it's going to a closing date the day later or 2 days time. If you're caught and you don't have time to view it, so you just move on. Now that's different when you're buying it as an asset. You're looking at figures and but if somebody's really interested in a home and they don't get to see it, how do you know that person isn't going to offer way more than you might get at a closing date? And also, closing dates, is it always the highest price?
Well,
that's the best offer
that as well, because when we were in Dubai for the podcast, I'd put a property at a closing date, but I'd spoke with the agent that she actually came in my workshop, so she's investing in property herself. But I'd actually spoke to her on all the offers, and I went through them all, and that having the agent that's in your corner and talking you through that, it's okay, there's 6 offers on the table, let's go through them. And I took number 4, and between 4 and 1 was something like 9 grand, if I remember off the top of my head. But I went and had the conversations with the agent, because obviously they're investing in getting the property over the line to the close. Okay, what's going to give me the best chance of success? Okay, number 1 was 9 grand more. Let me have a look at what have they got in the market. They're in a chain, right? What have they got in the market? Let's look at it, let's research it. Or have you got a contact with agent in Perth that's selling that? Yeah, do you know what? I'll go and forget them off on the now. Yeah, they've had 16 viewers in the last 2 weeks and no offers. Right, that's a fucking difficult property to sell. Ignore it. And everyone's like, why would you ignore the 9 grand higher than the next one? Because of that reason, I'm getting stuck 100%. In a chain, and that's going to just drag it on. And then you're looking at 2, 3, and 4 and looking at their positions and what they're selling, and you go, we'll make a decision based on the right fit, not the highest offer. And that you won't get that from a
you can't get closing date. You can't. Well, it depends on the agent within the office that you're working with, because that agent might have that information. But if you've got 5 or 6 offers that come in, they're looking at is it subject to mortgage? Have they something to sell, and what's the price? But you're right. Do they then look at the something to sell?
Yeah, that's
could that? Yeah, I mean, we'd one in Edinburgh recently that it was subject to contract back in April, and it's only just settled because the property that the property was then in a chain, and we had to say, right, this property, it can be no other chain. But that's because the agent is like really involved in it and knows all that.
Did you watch the BBC Panorama documentary about Connells and Purple Bricks? So they did an undercover sort of series where an undercover reporter went and got a job with Connells. And she was basically just told, like, this is what you need to do. You need to sell our mortgage products and all that. That's the way we make money. So it just becomes like, how much money can we squeeze?
Rinse out everyone. Yeah.
Okay, so fancy making £1,000 for sending a WhatsApp? Let's take a wee break to talk about referring sellers to John and Lewis at Prime Property Auctions. Me and Stephen have both done it, and it couldn't be easier. If you know someone selling a property, the guys will pay you £1,000 or 1% of the sale price, whatever's higher, just for passing their details. Doesn't matter if the seller is already with an estate agent or not, just drop the guys a message and they'll do everything from the first call to getting the property sold. Know someone who might be looking to sell or struggling to get a result with their agent? Go to the link in the show notes and send them a message now.
I think, I mean, that was very much based on conditional selling. We're only going to take the offer if the mortgage is then with the mortgage broker and blah, blah, blah. I mean, obviously, our agents look at mortgage referrals and look at solicitor referrals, but so that then they're dealing with people that can help get the transaction over the line. It's not a conditional sale. I do think
the broker's not going to pick up the phone to the broker and do what's happening with the other person's mortgage.
Exactly. So if you've got somebody pushing and saying, what's that? You can phone the mortgage broker and say, where are we at with this? But I think that programme was unfair on the people that were featured in it, the agents themselves. I think, does it happen? Yes, it does. Does it happen that you've got estate agents that are sometimes more focused on the mortgages than the actual selling the properties?
Well, I think what happened there was it felt like it came from a higher level.
100%.
So the women, actually, I felt really sorry for her. The manager of the branch who was sort of pushing this on the undercover reporter to kind of sell more, get them into the mortgage advisor. And it was just all coming because she was under pressure. You know what I mean? So
again, it's the model. It's not the people. It's the model that I feel is broken.
What about the model of Scotland? Like I'm assuming when Keller Williams will be sole listing with a property, but you get that in Dubai or America, you can dual list, and it's basically you get the best price for it because the agents then forced to do their job. Do you think that's an issue with Scotland? And you think it sounds to me like, from what you're saying as well, that Keller Williams would almost outshine a lot of the other agents if that was the model was fixed as well.
So one property, multiple agents.
Yeah, 3 agents or whatever to go and find the buyer.
Yeah, why doesn't that happen here?
I'm not 100% convinced that would change some of the practices with multiple listings in Scotland. I think, and also the amount of time and
I think it would
work.
force them to become, because some of the programs I've picked up and watched, obviously just a little bit of it, you can see that they have that relationship with their client, either as the buying or the selling, that they have to, because if not, they're just going to go to you because they're like, well, Steve's answering his phone, but Ev's fucking picking up the phone and trying to actually do her best to get the property for the right price, or do you know what I mean? So
it's no selling Sunset though. Let's be real, innit?
Yeah.
Well, you don't know your £1 million flipping guy.
Well, we are selling Scotland.
Right.
We just don't have the prawn canopies and the high heels, but
and the weather yet.
I was watching one of these programs the other night, and just a quick story. It just made me laugh. I don't watch these programs because, but there was this £26 million house getting sold, and they had the open house and everything, which is another thing we do a wee bit differently. And there was an indoor swimming pool, so everybody's got their prawn canopies and their champagne, and in comes the synchronised swimmers.
Synchronised swimmers.
To sell. I mean, do you know that when you're watching it and you're going, I cannot believe that this is happening.
Do you think that has had an impact though, in terms of like, when you are recruiting people into Keller Williams, you must have to do a fair amount of like,
by the way,
filtering, filtering as well, because people obviously watch these programs and they might. I mean, I even get it when I list on Indeed for a letting agent. People honestly, they come on the interview and they're like, oh yeah, I've always really been on and interested in property. I watched like these programs on Netflix and all the rest of it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a job as a letting agent, predominantly doing admin.
I think we had the conversation about 6 months ago. I listened to the radio coming into the podcast, and they said they had a poll about what's the most popular jobs that kids want to leave school to do, and it was number 1 was estate agency. And I think it is that dream lifestyle.
That has to be because of Netflix or whatever, because it was never, nobody ever grew up in school going like, when I grow up, I want to be an estate agent. I mean,
that must be a new thing.
It was that. It was only a few months ago.
It was because they're watching $1 million listing and selling. But what they don't see is the day-to-day hard work of, you become a self-employed agent, you have to hustle every day, lead gen every day, connect with people every day, to get the honour of being able to sell somebody's house.
Absolutely.
And that's the bit that, people that are in the corporate world or the high street world, leads are kind of coming to them a bit better.
Spoon fed a little bit, and they like, you don't have to go. It's like the hunt. The hunter. Your food's been put on the plate, but now you have to go and hunt for the business yourself.
And I think that's the thing when somebody comes, going back to the experienced estate agents to non-experienced. Experienced estate agents have not been taught how to lead generate, because they've been taught how to value and how to list a house, but not how to lead generate.
Yeah, I think I always said this to you before as well. When I remember when I first got into property, it was a couple of years in 2008 when the market crashed, and you just, I'm only 21 at the time, 22, and you just seen that estate agents just didn't know how to fucking sell. Like, they put up listing on their window, they went on the portals and they waited for the phone to ring, and the next minute the phone stopped ringing.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this is easy to get deals now because I don't have a clue what to do. So you knew that, but it's almost like they've not really learned their lesson, like a lot of the agents now.
Yeah, we've just moved. Well, we've been in Edinburgh for a couple of years, but we've got an office in Edinburgh now, and seeing kind of the bigger names, like people go to them because they're the ones you go to if you've got high value listings. But what are they actually doing to sell your property apart from putting them on the portals? Are they hustling? Are they phoning people? Are they using social media?
Drone footage or cool camera rolls are good.
I mean, they've got good photography, they've got good marketing, but only on the portals. Sometimes you need to go and find a buyer. It's not just going to,
So getting back to building Keller Williams Scotland then, how many agents have you got now, Keller Williams in Scotland?
We've got just over 80 agents in Scotland.
And when you started out, it was literally like...
Zero.
Zero. You started that from zero, and that's taken how many years?
Yeah, so that's 5. Well, 5. We're 5 years.
Brilliant.
We're 5 years. But you have people come in and people go. You know, some people, some people it doesn't suit them.
And what would you say? Like, obviously, you've got to make sure you're trying to get the right people. Yep. Surely it's not just about getting anybody in.
No,
because you're building the team basically, so you have a certain amount of responsibility to make sure that it's going to work for you as well. Because it's your reputation too. So what sort of red flags do you get when are you doing the interviewing and all that when you're taking people on?
So the main person that does that is Stephen Pye, who's the market centre director, and Stuart Ferguson, who's a team leader. But then I get involved in recruitment as well. What sort of things are
you looking for in people then?
We do a needs analysis on people now. You know, because you said it earlier, if people come in, I've always had an interest in property. You know, what about people? Have you an interest in people? Because that's what it's about.
What's a needs analysis?
Well, a needs analysis would be, so what is it? Why are you looking at this role? What is it that you need to change in your life? You know, if somebody said to me, well, I need to earn more money, you know, that's not going to happen. You're not going to join Keller Williams and earn money in the first 3 months. You know, so we need to make sure that people are financially okay to come in and join us. You know, we don't necessarily go into their bank accounts, but we ask these questions.
Yeah, otherwise you'd just be setting them up to fail.
Correct. And I don't want that. I don't want people coming in because the first thing they say is that model fails. No, the model doesn't. The model's proved itself over and over, but it's not right for them. Or, you know, you've had somebody that was on training and they said, well, I don't really like talking to people on the phone. And I said, this is not going to be a good, this is not for you, you know. Now,
being picked up at the interview stage to get you here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they will come into training just to kind of try out before they committed, because we'll allow that as well. I'd rather somebody come in and did my 4-day training course and then at the end of it went, do you know what, I don't think I can do that, then sign up, pay a joining fee, you know, pay your monthly fee, and 3 months down the line they're going, I don't like speaking to people.
What is the dropout rate?
Oh gosh, I don't actually know that figure.
Like,
I mean, we have dropouts for people that it doesn't work for. We also have people who then think, well, we've got all the training, we've set up ourselves, and then they go out on their own, that they don't then feel they need Keller Williams, which you know, which happens.
Is that frustrating, or is that just the way it is?
It's very frustrating, but
time and effort in the training.
But you know, that's just life. You know, it's the nature of it. But I think also, I mean, at the moment we're probably saying no to more people than we're saying yes to, because we've learned. We're 5 years in. Stephen's been with me for 4 and a bit years. We know now, kind of, you know, I don't want somebody. So it's a bit like somebody could join Keller Williams, pay it like a bit like they join the gym. Right, you pay a monthly membership fee.
What is that? Like £150 or something? It's
185 quid.
Right, okay.
But if you don't go to the gym, you're never going to get fit or have a 6-pack. So somebody could come in and pay me. I mean, that £185 then pays for obviously the things that I pay for, CRMs and portals and stuff. But if you don't actually plug into the training and you don't plug into the models, you're not going to build a business. So don't join. It's not just going to. We've just taken on a new person who's going to be doing lead generation. That's the biggest thing that people need, is a help with lead generation. So we've taken on somebody that is her job, to lead generate from inquiries coming in, to follow up in vals, to do all the different things.
And is this then to pass the leads on to the agents?
To the agents.
So at least, so that was another thing that went through my head previously, because we've talked to a few other people about self-employed estate agents saying that. Because there is obviously other companies out there that are maybe, you know, they're not the big corporates, but they're more independents, but they're taking on agents and at least they're providing the leads for them. So they're giving them a start and a bit of help. So then I'm thinking, well, why would I want to go with Keller Williams?
Well,
if
I think
you're not providing leads, but now you're saying you've had to take
we've
somebody
looked at that. I mean, I think
the
biggest mistake people make in business is think that the way they do it is always right. And you look around and you listen to people, which is why we do the kind of needs. You know, it's like, what would you need from us, as well as what do you need, you know, to happen with us. And one of the biggest things has been lead generation. So,
for example, like how much do you put into? Do you have a budget where you're generating any business or leads through, like, you know how everyone talks about paid ads, Facebook ads, Instagram, all the rest of it? Would that be down solely to the individual agent if they wanted to do that, or would you guys at a central level have a budget for that?
So we've just introduced that in August. We had to take on the person to then service these leads, because unfortunately we've done it before and we've paid for leads to be done, and unfortunately they've maybe not all been serviced. Because if somebody wants a valuation, they want a phone call pretty much right away, because another agent might phone them, and so it has to be done pretty quickly. So Penny's come on and she's doing that. So we've then put again a budget for going out for paid ads. I mean, I hate the term free valuation, because what does it, anybody can do a free value. You can do it online,
I'm sorry,
do you
but
know?
I'm not paying an estate agent to come out and value my house.
No, I mean, but we can't. We can only give a market. We can only give an opinion. So but no.
And obviously, like Keller Williams, I think probably one of the first one at the self-employed model, serious players, but there seems to be like loads of them now. So you've got like EXP. Well, there is others.
You've got the agency UK, you've got EXP, you've got IAD that's now come into
Does that
to the
now
UK.
made your job harder to get the talent?
I don't think so. I think, you've obviously still got Remax as well, although their model's, slightly different with offices and things. But I think I'm a great believer in, so all the models, if you put them in a big pot and stirred them, a lot of them would be the same splits and the same things. People join people as well. So, I encourage people to look at all the different models out there. Go and have a conversation with everybody, see who's the best fit for you. It's the same when somebody's picking an agent, right?
Yeah.
You could have 3 agents out and they might all be the same fees, but you get that feeling that that's the person you want to work with. It's the same with models, and I think we, in Scotland, we are by agent count the biggest self-employed model now. So, that in itself creates some interest as well, but a lot of the other models don't have the hub. They don't have... And
that central
they don't have the community, they don't have a leadership team, they have online training and things like that. But who do you pick up the phone to if you have a problem, or where do you get that training? Because even if you're experienced or have done it for many years, you still need all the changes that get made, and not so much legislation, but just ways AI we spoke about. Where do you get that training from?
So if I'm interested in becoming an estate agent, obviously I want to know how much could I earn.
Well, that depends on how much you want to work.
What would you say your average? Like obviously you see all the you've got 80 as part of the team now. What would be an average? What would be somebody who's excelling really well?
So we did numbers yesterday actually, and their transactions for the first 6 months, if we can only divide it by the number of agents that we have, on average it's just under 4 transactions each agent is doing. So our average fee in the market centre is £2,200 average across everybody.
For
that's from your
each transaction.
each transaction. So out of that, an agent would roughly take about £1,400.
What is it, about 70-30 split normally?
Yeah, there or thereabouts. Yeah, depends again on some on your production level, etc. And obviously you're capped. So, you times, like even if you took it lower than that, say £1,200 you'll earn out of a transaction times 4
per month.
Okay.
On average, which is the average for the number of agents and transactions. But we have some agents doing 10, we have some doing 1 or 2, because I have some people that they only want to do 2 because that is enough income, and because what's more important to them is time. And family, and that comes back to the balance.
Yeah, the values that you initially wanted to go into.
Correct, 100%.
So we've had guests on. In fact, it was John and Lewis from Prime Property Auctions, I'm sure, where we talked about self-employed estate agency.
Property,
and John said that he just didn't believe it was a good route for people to get into. And the reason he thought that was just because of the low fees in Scotland. And that's, I think he said, like, what was the point? You're... I don't know, average property price 200 grand, say 200. You're in there competing against the likes of, I don't know, even likes of the bigger names, the high street names. You hear quite often they're doing it for like
fees.
0.7%. So how can somebody who's self-employed, who's given away 30% of their fee, how can they compete with that and still make a good living?
Because they're not doing it at 0.7%, quite frankly.
Right. And how...
Our average fee in the market centre is 1.23. So 1.23% is our average percentage fee in the market centre.
And you're not a race to the bottom. You're not trying to be cutthroat and trying to go through. You're just saying, here's where we're.
No, I mean, you've got people out there selling houses for £495. Yeah. But again, it comes back to, you mentioned Purple Bricks earlier. If people just picked an agent based on fee, Purple Bricks would have scooped up everything because they were the cheapest at the time. They were online. They would have taken everything. They never got to double figures of market share. So if people genuinely, and I think it's a misconception that people they actually choose their agent based on fee for the very reasons that I'm talking about.
By the way, I agree. I disagree with John actually on this because I think.
Well, I'm glad we're in the room talking about that.
No,
but it's do you know? Does anybody pick the cheapest of anything? Very rarely do they pick the cheapest of anything.
They'll pick the one that fits with what they're wanting. Is it quality, time?
Well, let me ask you, going back to the closing date thing, right? So if I'm, sort of talking to you about being your agent, and I'm saying to you, right, my fees, like 0.7%, but we'll get loads of viewers and I'll call a closing on, we'll put it on the Saturday and we'll call a closing on the Tuesday. And you go, all right, okay, but how do you know that? Am I even worth my 0.7%?
Yeah, you're getting the best price.
How do you know?
I'm huge on personal brands, right? Yeah. And I really do think that's the way forwards. And I've even thought about it myself. I do lettings only, right? But I thought if I did go into sales, then I would go and do a model like that. I would get like self-employed estate agents, and it would all be like on their personal brands, but they could leverage off it us a wee bit because we've been in business like 8 years, so they could take a wee bit of leverage. I would put money into Facebook ads, all the rest of it, but it would be down to them to build that know, like and trust on social media and all the rest of it.
And that's the key. But I also think there's a lot of agents trying to take on self-employed agents and not having the training,
support,
the leadership skills, the training and the models to actually help the agents succeed. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy taking on a self-employed person, particularly with no estate agency experience, and then making them and helping them grow into an estate agent.
What are the most common things that people fall down on? Is it the motivation to go out and do the lead generation, put the, chat the doors, make the phone calls and stuff like that? Is it just like that sort of stuff that people are just struggling on?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the selling sunset. They see that bit, but they don't realise that really you should have 2 hours of lead gen every day, 5 days a week, and it's sometimes quite boring.
Yeah, boring.
Success is boring. It's consistently monotonous, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
But only, I think the beauty of estate agency is if you really crack that in your first, 30, 60, 90 days, it then becomes less of a task because people are coming to you. You're getting buyers on your properties. Exactly. So if you can commit.
Of any golden boys or girls on social media that you could call out, Keller Williams, that we can go and follow to see for any aspiring estate agents there that they could go and say, Evelyn says that they're doing smashing it.
Well, you've got a few. You've got Kelly Archibald in Edinburgh. You've got Michael and Ellie Clay.
We need someone to speak at the Edinburgh podcast event actually on the market. So
right, okay. You've got a lot of ours are quite well known in social media. You've got Jane Buchan, who is on there. I'm trying to think of some of the newer ones that have kind of come out. You've got Brian McClellan, who is on there.
Just to give examples so people can see.
Yeah, the young listeners are going to be able to go and look them up and see what they're doing, and see what they're putting into their personal brand to grow on the stage and to follow.
My new one I mentioned, car salesman, Gordon Lees. He's really embraced, kind of learning first and foremost, and
what is
in
the
every
common
training.
Traits of these ones that do succeed, that are able to sustain such a good level? What is it that they're doing that the ones who just aren't making it? What's
said, personal brand.
Yeah.
Don't be putting on your, just listed and your just solds and all that. People want to know. People want to connect. Who are you? I think
I rattle this fucking off in the workshop all the time about people that will create an Instagram page for their property portfolio. Their business is like, I won't follow you back. I don't have a fucking clue. The logo,
no face.
The roof. I don't see the face. I don't see the band. I don't see all everything that for. I don't give a fuck. Like, I want to see the personal behind what you're trying to do. And one of the girls just like completely bought into it. She just bought her first flip. And anyone I've had conversations with in the last week and a half, like, oh, Michaela's doing really well, because she's put on, here's a single mum with her baby flipping her first property, and she's owning it. She's putting herself out there. She's doing the strip out video, and everyone's like, wow, it's her first property, but she's already getting spoken about more than anyone else in the group in the community that's buying. Graham Greaves on that's buying another flipping, 8. Like, he's going to go to 20 in the first year, but she's the one that's getting spoken about because she's out there building a personal brand that people can relate to.
100%.
So
and I think that's the thing, like people, like that's why people relate to me, because I was a single mum with 4 kids and I've built a business, so you don't say to me, I've got no time.
Yeah.
It comes back to balance and making time and using the time and focusing on what you want to focus on. And it's sometimes your focus is on your business, and it's sometimes your focus is on the kids. Work-life balance, it doesn't exist. It's a counterbalance thing.
What do you want more of?
Yeah, but you need to know, you need to be an expert in stats, and you need to draw people in. If somebody's putting up a post about, the house, and somebody goes, oh, that's a house in my area. Well, how much is that worth? What's the stats, etc., etc. But ultimately, it's about being yourself. And I think the worst thing people can do is portray something that's not them on social media, and then you meet them in the living room or you talk to them and you go, you're not even a little bit, I was drawn to you because of that. Just be your authentic self. Yeah, I think, there's I try to always, whether I disagree with people or agree or be in things, I'm the same way regardless of what company I'm in. And I think that's really important for the agents. Don't try and be something you're not.
Who do you think this accusation of, like, I've heard people say in the past that, they feel like self-employed estate agencies like a pyramid scheme stuff. Have you heard this before?
I have, and I think it comes from, some of the models reward agents in their downline with, quite high fees for recruitment, etc. We have what we call growth share, but if you were one of my agents and you introduced another agent to me, you get a small percentage of what they produce. Mm-hmm. But if they don't produce, you get nothing. But it's not focused on recruitment. Some of the other models is very heavily focused on recruiting agents into their downline. So then
maybe the people that think along those lines are thinking, well, it's not really about selling houses anymore. It's just about actually getting more and more people in the door, isn't it? Because the more and more people I get in the door, the more and more I make.
Some models, that's what it's like. But the kind of, pyramid schemes are obviously illegal, so they're not pyramid schemes, but they can come across as, that's the kind of way perception. It is. But there's some great, really good agents who have big downlines, but they're still on the job doing the training and connecting with their downlines. Yeah. I think the thing, again, it comes back to what I said, it's about the leadership and the training, whether it's somebody in your downline or you're a mentor or the actual leadership team, people need that.
If someone recruits you and you were getting a chance of a small percentage of their income, it'd be in your best interest to make sure they're needing support, needing help,
of course.
Answer their questions, and if they produce, then you get a little bit extra kickback as well.
I mean, we've got like accountability coaches within the leadership team, and they've all got their own groups. Now they do get some percentage of. It's not taken away from the agent to give to them. It's come out of the kind of the market centre pot, if you like, to give to. So the better mentor you are and the better accountability and productivity coach you are, the more your group's going to produce. But you have to be there for them and do the training and be there for the calls when they're having a wee bit of a panic. And
what kind of challenges you have at the moment then, growing the agency from the 5 years to 80 agencies? You still manage to keep this kind of community and everyone together, or is it you finding this quite challenging growing?
It can be challenging because because it was just a few of us. We were kind of in the market centre every day and everybody knew each other. Which is why one of the reasons we've opened up Edinburgh, because we want to create more agents there. But you can't then say, well, we're a community and we're a family, and you have to come through to Glasgow to have a working space. So that's why we've done that.
Almost like little satellite offices.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not an estate agency office. It's a hub for agents, and that's the difference. I don't believe you need a high street office to be a good estate agent. So I think that's the challenge, and I think keeping people motivated to do what they want to do. That's probably our biggest challenge, because people come in all fired up and all ready to go, and like it comes back to, well, you've actually now got to do the calls every day, and you've got to do the reach out, and
laptop, and
they've got the whole thing
set up.
I mean, it's actually going back to Gary Keller we spoke about earlier. It was why he's so focused on lead generation, because he did a 4-year degree in real estate, and came out, and well, he wouldn't have a laptop in 1979, but he came out and he had probably a dial-up phone, like this, and his desk, his phone, and it was like, right, what now?
Phone.
Not once in 4 years had he been taught how to actually get clients, and that's the thing that I believe that we do well, because all of my leadership team have been agents. So not everybody has actually been out there selling. So we know how to build a database and know how to get leads in and what to do. And ultimately it comes down to how if you do a good job for a client, they will refer you.
Yeah.
Because that's, you'll be asking for it, but they will refer you because, you have done such a good job.
That comes with time as well, doesn't it? One of the things that we saw when we went out to Dubai, and why so many, I think the stat was like a crazy, like 85% of real estate agents that went out there failed within the first 3 months or something like that. I can't remember, don't quote me on that, but something really high.
Yeah, it would be.
And what they were doing is these young ones were going out there basically discovering that it was so expensive to live out there, so they didn't have any savings, and then they've just run out of money because it's taking time for obviously the sales to go through. It's not going to happen straight away. So I presume that even here it's going to be similar. What about these people you see, like traditional estate agents having a pop? And I hate the lettings estate agency people, like traditional people. I just think it's just
so backwards.
Nobody helps each other out. It's weird. It's like seeing property investor circles. We're always sharing, helping, the rest of it. See, like other like I go on the calls, like Scottish Association of Landlords. So I'll do like calls, and they have
I think you're the only one that speaks.
I'm the only one that speaks, and well, maybe they're like, I wish you'd just shut up.
Because they see as competition instead of collaboration.
That's what it is.
That has to change. It's a real bugbear of mine, actually. I mean, I took on, I don't think it's just Scottish. I think it's throughout the UK. I think so I took on a role as regional champion for women in estate agency. I was down at their conference last year, and I was blown away by the sense of collaboration and helping each other out. So I took on the role and to bring women in estate agency together. So I'm a wee plug, but I'm having an event on the 12th of September. This won't be out before then, but anyway, there we are. But it's nothing to do with Keller Williams, or it's to do with different estate agents, independent, self-employed, coming together to learn about AI, to learn about business, to learn about mindset. Nothing to do with Keller Williams. Now, a lot of it, some people, I open up my training to people that are not with Keller Williams. Why? Because I do think if we all collaborated, but the problem is it's dog eat dog, and it's not great to take the industry forward, and it's one of the reasons that we do get a bad rep.
And I hear some of these old school guys, they come out and like, because there's a few agents that I know that I follow, and they've still got like full-time jobs, but they're trying to build up their estate agency on the sidelines. Yeah. And it's like, they're all turning their nose up at this and all the rest of it. And I'm like, what's the problem with that? They might be giving a better service than you. Do you know what I mean? Because they're that invested in it.
Well, yeah, because most people who come on sort of dual career, as we would say, want to go into it full-time. How do they get into it full-time? They provide a really good service and build up their client base. They're not coming into it just to do the one or two. That's where they want to go.
The person in the role might be just complacent and just plodding them along and doing the job and not really giving real value, not improving or growing as an estate agent.
I think for me, a lot of the backlash that people get on, LinkedIn and social media from your kind of, well-established, corporate type brands is because they're actually scared.
Yeah.
So there's two ways they're scared. They have a fear of actually going self-employed themselves, because that would mean giving up a guaranteed salary. But also they have a fear that as self-employment grows, people will actually want to have... Now, I don't like the term self-employed agent. I like personal agent, because that's what you are. So people will then have a fear that people will ask for a personal agent. One of the things with our agents, we'll give them a lot of training and different things. And it's kind of like clients will say, that other agent didn't mention that, or that other agent didn't do that, accompanied viewings, open houses, blah, blah, blah. But that's where we want to take it. So the corporates particularly, I think, are, there's a little bit of fear. So how do you react to somebody when you feel threatened? You try and go, that's nonsense. That'll never work.
Surely for you though, like, you must have to drill it home to people that if you were to compete in this marketplace and become that personal agent, then there needs to be a bit of sacrifice, because like at the moment, like I can pretty much, I've got my business running well. I can pretty much shut off, have the evenings to myself and my family and the weekends. But if you're trying to start from scratch and you're that personal agent, you need to make sure that you're replying, at all times.
What did you do a few years ago? Like, it took years and years to build up.
Exactly.
And do that
So I guess that's one thing that, people need to understand when they're starting out.
It comes back to that work-life balance doesn't exist. When you started your business, where was your focus and your energy? In your business,
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
My wife said she didn't see in, but the back of my head for 2 years.
So why were you doing it? It's like why do you do why were you so focused on the business and the energy to provide for your family? So I think having a supportive family partner, whatever circumstance you're in, is really, really important. Yeah. But not to the fact that you don't see them for 2 years. But so where
she did see me.
We can just saw the back of your head. Yeah, I'm off to another viewing. But that's where the kind of counterbalance. And I think you've got to if you've got I had my 4 kids. I had to literally say, I need to work at this point in this time. But then again, you work it around, like tea time for me was like 5 till 7 was tea time, get the homework done, get the food on the table, blah, blah, blah. And then, but I had already said to clients, look, you're probably doing the same as me. You're probably kids, school runs, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll phone you. Is it okay to phone you after 8 o'clock? Yeah, that'd be brilliant, because the kids will be in bed. So that's probably why I was connected to people who were the same as me to a degree.
Wait a minute, the office is closed from 9 till 5 and sorry, you can't get anybody. No, I'll speak to you.
You've got my mobile, WhatsApp me, send me a message, whatever suits you best.
Talked about you touched on the women getting involved, and you kind of something earlier on, you talked about the predominantly male like valuers and traditional estate agencies and stuff like that. Is that something that's changing? Or is it
not traditional estate agencies? Most of the valuers are still men, and self-employed agency or personal agency, a lot of them are women.
Like, see the people that come to you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you won't have the exact figures, but is it 50-50? Is it
I would say ours is probably about 50-50 at the moment, but turning towards a little bit more of female. I think for me, it's that, again, it's one of my passions is saying to, because women still traditionally, and in the main, are the primary caregivers for the kids when they're school age, in the main. So when I tried to get back into estate agency, to give you an example, I tried to get a job with a high street agent. I had to be in the office for 9:15, and I couldn't leave before 5 o'clock. And I had to have one late night a week and every other Saturday. How? Come on.
Yeah.
They could have paid me, £100,000. I still couldn't have made it work because I had school runs, blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of women in that position. There's a lot of mums wanting to return to work, but childcare costs, they can't make it work because they're paying out more than they might be earning, even, full-time, part-time. This industry, and it's a real passion of mine, can suit people because they can suit the hours around them. And as long as you say to a client, right, listen, I don't work on a Wednesday, or I don't, but you can get me Wednesday night, I've got the kids on a Wednesday, you get me, or I'll just send you a wee WhatsApp. As long as you set out the expectations, but you're not saying I work 9 till 5,
it's rigid.
Because most people during the day is kind of awkward to get them anyway. I'll phone you at night, I'll phone you on a Sunday, I'll phone you whenever it needs to be. But you also have to protect your family time as well, so it's just getting that. In the beginning, it's all about building the business. And then, you take people on to then help you and give you back a wee bit more of your time. But women, I think this is a great profession for women. I think it's, and the personal estate agency allows more women to come into it.
And if you're so personal, how do you get to the point, like, that you can now go on holiday. You know, like I'm thinking off the top of my head. I actually remember Jane Buchan, who you've mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
So she used to help us out at the Scottish Property Podcast networking event.
Yeah.
And I always just remember her turning up. I think it must have been at the early days of her starting out, personal agent, self-employed agent, whatever. And she was literally, she would turn up and she was like constantly just on the laptop, emails, phone. It was like everything right up until 7 o'clock at the moment where we started like the event. And I was like, wow, she looked pretty stressed at that point. But I'm pretty sure she's probably got to the point now, years down the line, where she's managed to, so I think she's opened up. She's not opened up a...
She's got a wee office in Straven,
and all that. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, surely she's built it now to a point where, you know, she can maybe have that time. I've not spoken to Jane for ages, but if you're listening, Jane, hope you're doing really well.
Actually, randomly bumped into her at Edinburgh Airport a few weeks ago.
Oh, did you?
Like, you know, the person, a Glaswegian woman that I know for the property in Edinburgh Airport. I was like, what's going on?
So getting to the question, how do you get to the point where you're the personal agent, but you can switch off your phone, go on holiday with your kids?
Again, it's expectation, you know, because if I was going so I'm going on holiday Saturday, right? So if I was still an agent and I was out this week to a client, I would say to them, look, I'm going on holiday on Saturday. There's two things we can do. We can list it before I go, and I'll get, you know, because Jane, for example, has got a team now. So she's got people in the office that can deal with all the inquiries, etc., etc. So you deal with that bit of it. But I would say to a client, you know, we'll not start viewings till I come back, or we will get, you know, somebody else to cover the viewings. Again, being part of a model, you can have people cover you. Whereas I think if you're a one-man band agency, that's a problem.
Right.
So I think if you're a, and I've had agents who have the client said, no, I want it listed now, you know, I need it covered while you're away, kind of thing. They just get another agent and do it as a referral. Collaboration comes back into play. Yeah. You know,
when I say go on holiday and switch off the phone, by the way, I never do that. I'm always on my phone doing work when I'm on holiday.
Well, you should be switched off.
That's what we do, isn't it, as business owners? And
but
do you know what? Switching off my phone, that would bring me even bigger anxiety, not knowing what was going on.
I think it's, I mean, like I will go on, and I'll go on holiday. I've been away in the States for work and stuff, but it's my first little holiday this year. And I've got my team that, you know, I'll come off the WhatsApps and I will come off the emails because I know I've got a good team that will deal with it. But that's taken a number of years to get to get to that point. But I think you can, again, use the word expectations. If you tell people that you're not available, like, I mean, my phone's there, you know, I'm in here for a couple hours, whatever. People know that I'm time blocked to do something, you know, and if I don't get back to them, I'll get back to them when, as soon as I can. We've become people. Somebody said I was away, and it was a younger group, and they said, I mean, how do you get a break? How do you do that? How do you get away on holiday? And I said, do you know what I do? I switch that thing off because when I was younger, we didn't have that. You know, you went on holiday, didn't you? You literally shut down your computer, booth, out of office, you know, and you went on holiday. So the mobile phones and being accessible has caused us more stress and more pressure. But you don't have to be back. If you say to a client, if I'm in a meeting, you know, I'll get back to you as soon as, because I use WhatsApp, I still have my blue ticks. You know, some people switch it off. I leave it on deliberately so that people can see I've not read my message, which means I'm not available at that time. Just different things. But yeah, I think the team, like for Jane, having the team in the office and the team behind her, dealing with all the inquiries, etc. That's a different thing.
To wrap it up then, what's the growth for Keller Williams in Scotland then? What's your goals, aspirations? You're looking to double the agency, recruit more agents in different areas or particular areas you're looking to try and get into and cover? Yeah, we're looking to grow out Edinburgh, as I say. We're looking to grow out up north. Aberdeen, please. Looking to Aberdeen, Inverness.
Perth. We're looking.
Aberdeen's needs an absolute shake up. I will help you recruit the best.
Well, we've had that conversation before. I mean, I think Aberdeen, obviously, you know, the ESPC is just, they're so stuck in their ways. ESPC in Edinburgh has changed quite a lot. You know, Rightmove and everything is beginning, and more personal agents are coming in there. But yeah, Aberdeen needs a shake up. But our model fits in small towns and villages. Remember, it's not, you know, we don't have to be in the big towns and the big villages.
There's Jane and Straven, that, so
yeah, and because you're wanting to be the local person. We don't need volume, remember. So we don't need, you know, 20. We need, like, you know, a 3-4 a month, and you could have a good living. So yeah, towns and villages more than big ones.
Where can people reach out to you then? Do we get in touch with yourself, or what's the best route if people are interested?
Reach out to me. You'll find me on social media, just Ev Foster. And yeah, happy to talk to anybody.
Right, thanks for taking the time to come in and chat to us.
Thank you so much. That was really good.
Being open and honest, much appreciated.
Thank you so much. Thank you.